好，阿弥陀佛，我们开始请法，大家请合掌。Thank you.
Cùng xin ta的身心维持法会的一切众生，亲赞妙法轮，教导我们如何了生所思离苦得乐，速证无生。Will the Sangha regret virtue out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings? Please turn the wonderful Dharma will to teach us how to live suffering, and attain bliss, and birth and death, and quickly realize none but.
南无塔萨瓦嘎瓦多阿拉哈多萨玛萨普陀萨。
南无达萨巴嘎瓦多阿拉哈多萨玛萨普达萨。
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfect enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
南无萨旦陀苏切多耶阿拉哈帝三藐三菩提萨。
南无萨旦陀苏切多耶阿拉哈帝三藐三菩提萨。
好，开经记，大家一起念。无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wonderful Dharma, subtle and profound, rare, encountered even in a billion eons. But now we see it, hear it, and accept it invariably. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 好。诸佛菩萨、先共上人，我们在这的佛友，还有我们线上的佛友，大家晚安。我们大家一起来做这个无量寿经的这个研究，这个无量寿经，佛说无量寿经。好，我们之前呢，我们来先三称不是三称我们就一起来念南无阿弥陀佛圣号。Yeah.
Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Venerable Master Hua, and all the Dharma friends present either here or online, let's begin our lecture for the Sutra on boundless life by reciting the Buddha's name.
好，我们大家请合掌，我们一起来唱诵南无阿弥陀佛圣号，然后这个就是我们唱这个阿弥陀佛圣号，我们的心就是阿弥陀佛的心，所以这个之前我们希望说能够念3-5分钟的好。
So by reciting the Buddha's name, be mindful of that name and invoking the name, we become the same mind as Amitabha Buddha.
好，我们大家一起念了。南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛。南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛。南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀
南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛。好。Very good. And 我们今天我们来大家一起来研究佛说《阿弥陀经》，它的page， 它的页数在114页，然后这个因为后面有记诵啊，总共到第6句犹如虚空，我们大家一起念中文之后，我们再来念英文。英文在115。 So we start today's lecture on the Sutra on boundless life, page 114 for the Chinese, 115 for English.
好
starting with the verse.
Yeah, OK， 我们大家一起念。
Together.
Yeah， 好。智慧如大海，三昧如山王，慧光明净，超愈日月，清白之法，具足圆满，犹如雪山，照诸功德等一尽故，犹如大地，净为好物，无其心故，犹如净水，洗除尘劳，诸垢染故，犹如火王，消灭一切烦恼身故，
犹如大风，行诸世界无障碍故，犹如虚空，于一切有
无所着故。好，我们中文现在念英文，在115页。
English, their wisdom is like the vast ocean. Their samadhi is like the king of mountains. The pure radiance of their wisdom surpasses the light of the sun and moon. They are replete with pristine dharmas. They are like the snow-covered mountains because they reveal merit and virtue of the same purity. They are like the great earth because they do not differentiate between pure and impure or good and bad. They are like pure water because they wash away the dust and pollution of the world. They are like the king of fire because they burn through the firewood of all the afflictions. They are like the great wind because they travel unimpeded in all worlds. They are like empty space because they do not cling to anything.
好，我们就到这个经文就念到这里。好，我们来稍微来浅浅的来解释一下这个经文。这个智慧如大海三昧如山王，这个就是其实这些呢，因为他们在讲这些都是极乐世界在修学的菩萨们，都是因为这些菩萨们呢，都是由他方世界都从那里来的，所以呢，这些菩萨是在那里修学到，就修学了之后呢，他们就有这个智慧，像大海的这个又深又广的这个智慧，然后呢，它又是像山里面的大王的这个三昧的寂静，三昧三昧，因为这个就是非常的镇定，在那里，像入定三昧一样的不动，不动如山的这样子。
The first verse speak to the wisdom and the samadhi of all the bodhisattvas in the Pure Land. These bodhisattvas came from 10 directions. And their study is profound, such that their wisdom, deep and profound, just like the unfathomable ocean, and their ability to enter samadhi. And when they enter samadhi, they are completely unmoving in stillness, just like the king of mountains, completely unmoving and unmoved.
所以呢，这个他们的智慧之光呢，明洁清净，超过日光、日月光了，就是超过这个太阳跟月亮的。
The brightness of their wisdom, pure, bright, just like that of, well, actually surpasses that of the light of the sun and the moon.
然后呢，这个他们都非常清楚明白这个自性的清净，而且是真如实相，这个法的实相呢。所以他们都圆满具足。
They completely are clear about the purity of the self nature. They understand the true suchness and its actual appearance. This kind of wisdom, they are replete with it, and it's complete in terms of endowment of this wisdom.
好，下面就开始在比喻啦，犹如就是比如啦，就好像啦。下面呢，它这个有很多的句，这个等于一个比如，总共我跟他算了大概有20个比如，所以我们从第一个比如开始，这个第一个他讲这些菩萨他们的这个智慧这些的圆满呢，就好像是雪山，犹如雪山呢，造诸功德等依净故，就是像雪山一样的具造所有的功德，等依就是平等无差别的，都是一同清净的。
So now we're going to go into some examples. There are actually 20 of them. We're going to pick a few to further illustrate the state of these bodhisattvas. The first one, they are just like the snow mountain, shiny and able to illuminate all the merits and virtues. And yet, this shining is completely level, undiscriminating, such that when it shines upon these merits and virtues, it reveals their exactly identical purity.
然后第二句呢，就是犹如大地呢，就好像我们大地，这个就是我们目前我们踩到这个地上的这些大地呢，就是一样的，不为呢，它是不为一切的境界呢所摇，所以对于这个干净或者污秽好的坏的呢，一切的都没有不同的心，没有异样的心，这样子。
They're just like the great earth, never affected and shaken by any state, any change, so that their attitude towards whether something is pure or defiled, good things, bad things, they do not differentiate. Their mind is completely level.
第三句呢，他们犹如净水，他们又好像这个清净的水，这个净水，这个清净的水呢，因为他们在修行修学了这些菩萨，所以我们可以讲他们是清净的这个戒水，就是他们有守戒的这些戒水呢，能够洗掉这个所有的尘垢烦恼，一切的染浊，这些呢，他们是可以远离这个三途六道的，所以没有众苦，但摄诸乐。
They are like the pure precept water that completely cleanse off dust, afflictions, and attachment, such that they are forever apart from the three evil paths of rebirth and the six rebirth for living beings. They are completely devoid of the multitudes of suffering and only in the state of receiving all the happiness.
好，下面再一句就是说，犹如火王来消灭一切烦恼心故。这个就是菩萨呢，像 火王，就是火就是很旺的这个火的火王一样的，因为呢，他这个就是表示呢，菩萨他们有般若的智慧的这个烈火之王，所以呢，他们可以消灭一切的无明烦恼。
These bodhisattvas, they're like the king of fire, and that fire, it comes from prajna, wisdom. This raging fire, king of fire, completely burn off all the delusions and afflictions.
好，在下面一句呢，又好像犹如大风，行诸世界无障碍故。这个又好像是这个风，是大风的，吹过呢，所有的世界各地呢，没有一点点的障碍，这个呢，就是等于这些菩萨他们的修行呢，都已经可以得到解脱法身了，然后解脱法身呢，他们最重要呢，到世界各地去做什么？去饶益世间，去做佛事，没有任何的这个障碍。
It's like the great wind, a gale that sweeps through everywhere, through the world, to every location, unimpeded. This is an example of because they have realized the liberation Dharma body, such that they're able to benefit the world by conducting and teaching the Buddha's teaching, totally unobstructed and unimpeded.
好，在下面第6句就是今天我们要讲的最后一句，这个犹如虚空，以一切有，无所着故，就是说这些菩萨们他们的修行呢，就好像虚空一样的，对一切的有这个有就是可以讲万物啦，那也可以讲万事万物万事，都没有丝毫的这个对于物是没有贪着，那对于事，最重要也是不可以执着，他们不会执着的，都一切都放下了。
Just like the empty space, they are not attached to any existence. The 10,000 things, the 10,000 matters in the world, just like the empty space, they are never attached to any of it.
所以呢，我们今天的经文也都是在讲这些菩萨他们的修行成果，都是这些智慧方面啦，他们都能够圆满的。所以呢，这个像这个智慧如大海呢，在这个杂比喻经里面呢，有一段的故事，所以下面呢，我们都会来比喻一些故事，就今天的所有经典的，我们一个一个来做这个讲故事方式的。
So that was a brief summary of all the characteristics and achievements of these great bodhisattvas. We're going to go in now to further illustrate these points with stories. And first, we want to touch upon the fact that these bodhisattvas' wisdom, their prajna, are deep as the ocean. And this comes from the Sutra of Assembled Allegories.
所以这个达比一经的第18篇里面呢有一则这样子，他说啊，他是一个阿修罗，说一个阿修罗，阿修罗也是有神通的，他的前世呢是是一个贫穷的人，贫人啊，就是贫穷的人，他这个贫人呢，这个贫穷的人呢，他是居住在河边呢，住在河边呢，那他为了生活，所以他去担柴啊、砍柴啊，因为你要生活，就是用柴火来烧东西啦、煮东西啦，所以这样子来担柴砍这个来挑柴啦，挑这个柴火，这样子。那这个他住在河边嘛，所以呢，他都常常要过这个过这个很深的这个水，这样子，而且这个水呢都是流得很快的。
This is a story about an Asura. This Asura was a very poor person in a previous life. He lived by the river, and to make a living, he often had to cross the river to gather firewood. And that river happened to be a very fast-moving river, rapid.
所以呢，这个贫人呢，这个贫穷的人呢，所以呢，他就常常要过这个河流所以呢，他常常都会被算河流它很急嘛，它就会被漂流，甚至于呢，它会因为你被水漂流以后呢，就在那里浮沉沉的这样子的情况，都有这样子的。
Because the water was such rapidly flowing, this person often got swept away by the fast-moving water.
那他这个等他们被这个水在被水在冲漂流，等到这个漂流的地方呢婉转的时候，就是说比较不是那么急的那个地方呢，才能够站起来，然后走出河流。
So as he bobbing and weaving down the river, finally came to a spot of slower moving water, then he was able to get out.
所以呢，这个贫穷的人呢，他还算是一个有好心的人。他有一天呢，他就碰到辟支佛，来这个贫穷的人呢，来他的家里，来乞食。这个辟支佛呢，他就把他们辟支佛他可以来他大部分都是用沙门，就是出家人的这个形象来乞食的。乞食我们大家知道，乞食就是托钵啦。
So wherever he landed, he stayed there, and one time a patriarch Buddha transformed into a monk to come and beg for food.
然后呢，他这个贫穷的人看到有这个沙门来乞食呢，非常欢喜，然后就来供养他们这样子。
So this poor person, seeing that a virtuous monk is here for food, was greatly joyous and made offering to the patriarch Buddha.
Yeah， 然后呢，等到这个供养这个必支佛，给他吃完饭以后呢，他又洗手啊，有的还就是大部分吃完以后呢，就找水，就是说会端水给他洗手啊，这样子。那这个他也洗手完毕了以后呢，然后呢，他就这个必支佛呢，这个沙门呢，他就把这个钵啊，他吃的这个钵呢，把它丢上这个虚空，然后再丢上虚空以后就飞行走了，这样子。
At the end of the meal, he also offered wash water for the patriarch Buddha for him to wash his hands. And at that point, the monk threw his arm bow up in the air, and then he himself flew away.
所以呢，当时这个贫人，这个就是说算贫穷的人呢，他看到呢，非常的羡慕，所以呢，他就来发心，来发大愿，发什么愿呢？他说愿我，希望说我的后生呢，就是说来生啦，然后身形长大，就是说我的身体呢，能够非常健壮非常长大的这样子的这个身形这样子，然后呢一切深水呢都不过我的不过我的这个膝盖，所以呢因为他在河边担柴嘛，然后要过这个深水嘛，所以呢他是说我过深水的时候呢，这一些水呢都不会高过我的膝盖。
The poor man, seeing that, brought forth a vow. He vowed that in previous lives he shall be born with a body that is tall and great, such that even the deepest water shall not even reach his knees.
所以呢由于这样子他发大愿的这个因缘呢，而且又供养必支佛呢，所以呢他后来呢就得到了这个大身，就是他身体很大的，多大呢？4大海水都不会过他的膝盖。
So because of this merit and virtue that he accumulated by making an offering to a patriarch Buddha, he indeed was able to fulfill his vow and was born with a body of extreme size, such that the water of the 4 deep oceans were not able to reach his knees.
Yeah. 所以呢，而且他站在这个大海中呢，他身体呢，身形长大，他的这个身呢，超过了须弥山，深过须弥啊，然后呢，他的手就在这个可以放在这个须弥山的底下来看这个忉利天。
He was so tall that he was able to stand in the ocean while exceeding the height of Mount Sumeru. And he was able to put his palm at the peak of Mount Sumeru, such that so tall that he can view the Tushita heaven.
所以呢，像他这个这个重点呢，就是在讲要发大愿。这个就是说我们修行呢，我们现在也是一样的。我们学习佛法，佛弟子呢，都要常常注意到我们的心要在大愿，要发大愿，这个最重要的这个重点。所以呢，因为他发大愿呢，他就可以得到这样子的这个果报。我们发大愿是因，然后他得到这个果，他大声的这个果。站在这个海上呢，就不超过他的膝盖，然后呢，他的身又过了须弥山，所以呢，他可以看，他可以用就是来看，往下看呢，看到刀立天这样子，所以呢，这个就是在讲一个比喻，那后面的比喻就更那个了。因为他这个只有一种一个时段一个人，然后佛呢，成佛的这个成佛的这个佛，他的修行呢，都积好久，累积都我们知道有90大劫几大劫，这样子来修行。而且发大愿，所以呢，他这个佛他所得到的这个法身呢，当然是遍虚空、满虚空的，这样子，这些都不足以奇怪的事情。
So he was indeed so tall that he was able to look down upon the Trimsa heaven. And this is all because he decided to bring forth this great vow. And for us, cultivation is the same. If we set our goal high and we watch our mind, and we also bring forth vast vows, just like that, we are also going to be able to achieve lofty goals. This is just because causal relationships are for sure, they're absolutely corresponding. You plant a cause, you're going to reap the fruit. So this is just an example of one person in one lifetime making a great vow, achieving something incredible. Compared to the Buddha, comparatively speaking, the Buddhas, of course, are even more unfathomable because their cultivation lasts 3 some countless eons. And every moment they also bring forth great vows, and by doing so, their merits and virtues are unfathomable, so that when we say that their Dharma body fills the empty space, we shall not think that this is strange, because it's also the same cause and effect.
还有另外一个最明显的，我们的阿弥陀佛，他在法藏比丘的时候，他发大愿，也是经过几个结束，然后来修行，所以呢，他总共发了48大愿 所以我们常常会念这个48大愿度众生，这个都是算阿弥陀佛他这个智慧功德，所以来度众生。然后呢，他今天的经文里面，就是也是在讲这些菩萨在极乐世界那里修行，他们都也有得到这个智慧如大海这个的功德一样的。
Another way of looking at it is the story of Amitabha Buddha when he was the monk Dharma treasury, Fa Zhang. He brought forth 48 great vows as his goal for cultivation. And ultimately, he was able to establish the Pure Land. That process, that whole idea is just the same, bringing forth vast vows to set lofty goals for one to achieve for the benefits of living beings. And all the bodhisattvas in the Pure Land, they're able to achieve wisdom deep as the ocean is because they also practice the same kind of cultivation.
另外呢，我们的像这个那个就是辟支佛呢，他的神通，然后呢，在空中飞行，走了这样子，然后这个我们在这个我们的这个祖师啊，祖师我们知道释迦牟尼佛，然后传法给大迦叶，给阿难，然后到第三祖，我们的第三位祖师桑那和修，仙公上人，他也有讲这个故事，因为最后呢，这位祖师呢，他也是显出了18变，完以后呢，用火光三昧，火光三昧，这个刚才我们经典上也有讲到，这个三昧，这个好像是山王一样，他就变火光三昧，然后把自己的身体燃烧掉，这样子。那我们也把今天这个仙公上人讲这个三祖桑那和修的故事，我们大家一起来分享。
Closer to us, the third patriarch of Zen Buddhism, the story of the patriarch Sanavasa, and how he brought forth great vows and was able to achieve the same kind of spiritual power as the patriarch Buddha mentioned earlier. And this is a story told to us by the Venerable Master Hua, describing his story of transformation. And the third patriarch, of course, is the third after Shakyamuni Buddha. After the Buddha's entering nirvana, he transmitted the Dharma to Mahakasyapa, who then transmitted it to Ananda. And the third one was Sanavasa, the third patriarch.
那这个我们的这个桑那和修三祖师呢，他是摩图罗的国家的人呢，然后呢，他的姓呢是比索多。
So Venerable Master Hua recounted the track of the third patriarch. He said this venerable was born in the country of Madura, and his last name was Pisedo.
Yeah， 他呢在他的母亲的胎里面6年，然后呢之后呢，他应瑞而生，就是他生出来的时候呢，有很多祥瑞的事情发生。
This venerable stayed in the mom's womb for 6 long years, and finally was born with a multitude of auspicious signs.
然后呢，他长大以后呢，他就出家学仙道，他就住在雪山。
Soon afterward, when he grew up, he left home. But in this case, he went up to the mountain, the snowy mountain, to learn from the immortals.
学道仙道，yeah. 所以呢，那时候他在学仙道的时候，因为阿难呢，就是要入灭了，那时候就差不多要入涅槃了，然后呢，那时候山河大地6种震动出现了。
At that time, the Venerable Ananda was about to enter nirvana, and in response, the great world, the great earth, exhibited 6 kinds of shakes, of earthquakes, and completely shaking the entire world.
所以呢，这个桑格那尊者呢，就跟着他们一起修行的500位仙人呢，都跑去，因为这个山河6种震动呢，然后他们一起就去来阿难那里来跟他顶礼，然后呢就跟他来请法，然后呢希望说长老，就是说我在长老这边当证佛法，愿垂度脱，就是希望说他是要来当证这个佛法的，希望说来度脱他，来请阿难来度脱他。
Feeling this tremendous phenomenon, this venerable, together with 500 immortals, went to see Ananda. They bowed to the feet of the venerable Ananda. Kneeling, they said, "Venerable, I shall certify to the Buddha Dharma under you. So please bring forth your compassion and teach me how to be liberated."
所以呢，就是在像来阿难那边来学习佛法，将来当证佛法，也就是说将来就是要成佛的。所以呢，阿难呢这时候听了以后呢，就变这个恒河为金地，他就把这个恒河的那个呢变成金子的这个地这样子。
Hearing that, the Venerable Ananda transformed the Ganges River into a land, a ground of gold, and he also spoke to this immortal turned Buddhist disciple.
所以呢这时候阿难呢就跟这个 上和拿修来上那和修来说大法，就是说跟他说啊，习如来以正法掩护大家是，就是说以前这个如来就是释迦牟尼佛以正法眼法眼来护给大家受，就是说把它传法给大家受。那大家受了后来就传法给我，这个就是所以讲起来大家受是算初祖，那阿难呢是算第二位二祖，然后我今天护给你就三祖，所以我今天就把这个大法传给你。
And the Venerable Ananda said to Sanavasa, and in fact spoke the Greek Dharma. He told him, in the past, the Tathagata bestowed the proper Dharma eye to Mahakasyapa, who then in turn bestowed the Dharma to me. Now is the time for me to transmit it to you.
所以尊者就是三那和修，他得到这个法以后呢，而且呢降二火龙，就是说把2条火龙都降服了，然后呢以见梵公，他就来这个2个火龙后面都归顺佛教了，佛法，然后呢他就在这个地方呢，就在那个地方呢来见梵公呢，就是清净的道场啦。相公上人讲是清净的道场，然后呢在那里弘扬佛法，转大法轮。
Upon receiving the Dharma, Sanavasa went ahead and subdued 2 fire dragons, and to make the dragons serve the Dharma, he also established a pure place, a pure abode, a Brahma palace for teaching the Dharma. So, and in it, he indeed was able to turn the great Dharma wheel and taught a lot of people the Buddha Dharma.
所以呢，后来这个三那和修他就又把这个法来传给优婆吉多尊者，优婆吉多尊者，像应该是4祖啦，然后呢他就自己就在吉宾国那里呢，象白山的山上呢，天空呢现18大变，就是现18变，然后呢用火光三昧来焚烧自己的身体，把自己烧了，火光三昧。
Savasana then, the 3rd patriarch, then turned around and transmitted the Dharma to the 4th patriarch, Upagupta. And when that was done, he himself, Savasana himself, went up to the Kafina mountains, Kafina country, and went up to the Elephant Tusk Mountain. When he got there, he exhibited the 18 transformation of an Arat, he also emitted a fire, the samadhi fire, to incinerate his body.
好，就是另外在佛祖统计里的这个传记里面呢，他有写这个桑那和修尊者的这个由来。他这个桑那和修呢，他他是王舍城的这个长者。
In the sutra, indeed, there are more about this particular patriarch. He was a resident of. Let's see. 我好像没有
这个有吗？没有。
看看。And in the records of the Buddhas and patriarchs, there's an explanation of where his name Sanavasa came from. He was actually an elder in Sarasti, the city where the Buddha was from.
那这个桑那和修他的过去式呢，就是他的前身啦，他是一个商族，就是做商人的，一个商人啊。然后呢，他在路上呢，他看到一个辟支佛，身上呢，病重，他看到一个辟支佛，身体非常的生病非常的重。
So Sanavasa, born in that city as an elder, in his previous life he was a merchant, and one time he ran into a patriarch Buddha who was very sick, and the Buddha, that patriarch Buddha was very sick, and he
就跟他求要治疗，及就为这个辟支佛来拿药去给他治疗。
And seeking help, the patriarch Buddha, the sick patriarch Buddha, asked him for medicine and help, medical help.
然后呢，看到他的这个辟支佛呢，身体非常的不好，然后就是说非常的避恶，就是说可能是烂啊，衣服烂啊这样子。然后呢，他就奉他的，就是自己拿他这个毡毛毯啊，这个很好的这个毛毯呢，这样子的衣服呢，给这个辟支佛。
And seeing that the patriarch Buddha was covered in very broken and very low quality clothing, he made an offering of wondrous wool clothing to the Buddha.
所以呢，这个辟支佛，他看到这样子，就跟这个桑那和修就跟他讲啊，此桑那衣啊，就是说你这个拿给我这个毡毛衣呢，用这个衣服呢，你将来你出家会成道的，然后呢，而且你会当着用了成道以后呢，你而且可以入灭，就是说你用这样子，可以就是虚空中，他就18遍以后呢，他就焚烧自己入灭了，所以呢，他这个辟支佛跟他讲完以后呢，这个辟支佛他也就飞到一样的飞上天空，做18遍，然后就起涅槃，就入灭。
So the Pratyeka Buddha said to Savasana Sanavasa and said that this fine clothing that you offer me shall be your own clothing when you leave home yourself. In fact, you shall be entering nirvana in these clothes. And after the Pratyeka Buddha said so, he himself went up and exhibited the 18 transformations of an arat, and thereby entering nirvana.
这时候，这个桑那和修呢，他非常的悲哀，然后就拿了一些香木呢，然后用他的舍利呢来造这个舍利塔来供养，然后呢，最重要他发愿愿我来世，所以他发愿很重要。他愿我来世呢，功德威仪以及衣服呢，跟今天的没有两样。由于这样子的这个愿力呢，所以500世呢，身中呢，都是穿着这个桑那衣，就是说他都穿了这个桑那衣服，这个就是三毛衣啦。他最后呢，然后就后来他就出胎，然后增长，然后出家，穿着这个法服，这个所以穿着这个法服呢，现在呢，这个变成有9条的这个戒衣现在都是桑那和修做成的这个我们出家人有很多的出家衣服都是用来做佛事，有9条的，有9条的这个衣服像我们现在这个都好像只有3条、4条这样子，3条，有9条，这个是一种戒衣。
Hearing what the Pratyeka Buddha said, and also entering nirvana, the merchant was greatly sad, and so he gathered fragrant woods to encase the sharira of the Pratyeka the Buddha, and made a stupor so that he can make offerings to the sharira. Further, he made a great vow. He said, in the future lives, my virtue, my merits and virtue, plus my deportment, my adornment, shall be, and my clothing shall be the same as what I have experienced with the Pratyeka Buddha. And because of such vow, through 500 lifespans, he was able to, he never parted from this fine piece of clothing that he offered to the Pratyeka Buddha. At the end of this 500 cycles, the last body, he was born with that clothing, which then grew with him as he was growing up. The cloth, the clothing, the robe grew with him until he left home. That piece of clothing became the Dharma garb. And this piece of clothing is in 9 strips, is made of 9 strips, just like the precept cloth for monks. And so when we conduct ceremonies, when we receive the precepts, we wear this kind of clothing with 9 strips of cloth. The one that I have on myself is typically only 3 to 4 strips, so not as reverent as the 9-strip precept cloth. So because of all these causes and conditions, this Venerable's name became Sanavasa.
好，我们再来讲这个经文上呢，有我们的经典上，今天的经典就是讲说慧光明净，超越日月，就是说超过日月之光呢，太阳跟月亮的光，超过这个在西云老和尚里面，他注释就是西云老和尚的自己讲出来的一个，里面呢有一段呢，影光艳然，这个影光艳然的这个算一个匾呐，题匾，这个影光艳然。这个就有提到我们的释迦牟尼佛的弟子大迦叶的，因为大迦叶叫做影光，所以我们也来讲一段这个故事这样子。
Speaking of the first patriarch, the Mahakasyapa, his name was Drinking the Light, and of course. The Venerable Xu Yuan, teacher of our own Venerable Master Hua, spoke about that story of why Mahakasyapa was known as one who drank the light.
他这个呢，影光艳然呢，这个匾呢。其实这个匾啊，在我们的 BBM 也有这个匾，这个影光艳然的这个匾，因为它这个我们这个匾呢，是从哪里来？是从大陆北京方面明海法师带过来的，他这个是送给仙公上人，纪念。他100年纪念的时候的一个庆祝，特别这个影光艳然的这个匾呢，因为这个匾非常的珍贵，这个是孙中山先生声文他所写的，在民国2年的时候来做这个匾的，他这个非常有意思，因为他有这个。提到大迦叶的这个名字，因为大迦叶它叫做影光。
And this was in one of the instructional talks by the Venerable Xu Yuan, who said who mentioned that Kasyapa would drink the light and very with great adornment. And then that phrase, drinking the light with great adornment, was in calligraphy and written down by the founding father of China, the Chinese Republic, Dr. Sun Yat-sen. And this plaque of his calligraphy was stored in Beijing, and one time when the Haimang Minghai, Dharma Master Minghai came and visited us, he brought with him a copy of this of this calligraphy plaque as a gift, as a offering to the Venerable Master Hua. That happened when at the 100-year anniversary of our Master. So it's extremely rare and precious because Dr. Sanya Sen did this calligraphy at the second year after the founding of the Republic.
好，他这个我们眼光其实就是大家社的这个他的这个名字的由来，他是释迦牟尼佛的大弟子，然后呢，他这个大家社的前世呢，他是一个冶金师，就是专门来念金的，就是打金条啊，或者是做金子啊这些的一个师傅啊，一个师傅这样子，然后呢甚至于就是用金子来做佛像，做金佛，这样子所以呢他是算他前世呢是一个非常虔诚来尊奉这个我们佛教的一个人啦。
Mahakasyapa in his previous life was a goldsmith, and he specialized in creating golden Buddha statues and golden clothing for adorning Buddha statues. And he was extremely respectful of the Dharma and the Sangha.
所以呢，他后来他出生以后呢，他福报很大，因为他供奉用金子来做佛像啊这些，所以呢，而且呢，他出生也的那个很富贵的家族，他甚至于呢，他这个家族富可敌国，他的这个非常的这个富有呢，可以比国家的这个一个国家都还要富有，所以呢，而且呢，他的相貌呢，非常的庄严出众。
Because all the merits and virtues that he accumulated when he was born into the world, Mahakasyapa's family was greatly wealthy. In fact, so wealthy that even countries were no match. He himself was born with awesome deportment and awesome appearance. His face and his whole being was greatly adorned.
所以呢，他出生以后呢，身上呢，都放出了这个紫色的金光的光芒，它这个紫色的金光呢，它能够消磨一切的光明，就是说，它可以把所有的光啊，你不管日光月光呢，都比不上它，比不上它的光明，而且都变成暗了这样子，它就可以比他们都更光明，所以呢，他因为这样子呢，所以就起名为影光，他这个小时候就起名了这个影光。
His body also emitted a tremendous purplish golden hue, so bright that that brightness surpassed all sorts of brightness. It's almost like he's brightness completely consume any other beams of light. Just like it's being drunk, he's drinking in all the other kinds of light, and that's why his name was called Drinking Light.
所以呢，这个修行啊，我们一个大德大祖师，这个大弟子佛的大弟子，这个都是不简单。而且不是光今生前世都有关系，前世跟今生，这个因为他前生所种的因，那就得今生的果，所以呢，这个我们的礼拜六呢讲法，我们也有都在讲因果，佛说三世因果经。所以呢，这个非常重要，所以我们都一直在讲这个经典，然后我们也有讲一些这个因果的故事，所以大家也要参加我们这个礼拜六的这个讲法，下午3点。
So we now, of course, are reminded yet again that greatly virtuous people, great disciples of the Buddhas, for instance, they don't come out of nowhere. The causes and conditions are not simple, and their ability and their result is not the work of one lifetime. It's all accumulated over many lifetimes, planting the roots, reaping finally the fruits. So, which is, the core teaching of Buddhism. And for instance, here on Saturdays we lecture on a sutra called "The Buddha Speaks of the Causes and Conditions over the 3 periods of time, the past life, present life, and the future life." So in that sutra, there are quite a number of stories illustrating this principle. I encourage everybody to come and listen to that lecture.
还有我们下面的时间，我们来说这个八音。佛说法，它有八音。然后呢，世间上我们也有八音，就是一般的这个民间上面八音，就是说什么钟啊、琴啊、筝啊、笙啊这些的8种乐器。称为八音，那我们也稍微复习一下佛说的八音。
The last bit of time that we have, let's talk a little bit about the Buddha's sound. The Buddha's sound has 8 characteristics, the 8 kinds of sound. And of course, in the human realm, our musical instruments often have 8 different kinds of sound too.
所以呢，佛我们复习等于在复习。我们讲过这个，佛说八音，说法八音呢。那八音呢，第一个极好音，因为那个佛的这个福德呢，是非常庄严，然后福德来。度众生，所以这个是极好音，这个第一个。
What are the 8 kinds of sounds spoken by the Buddha, emitted by the Buddha? The first one is the ultimately good sound.
第二个呢，就是柔软音。柔软音呢， 就是因为他非常慈悲慈善，所以他讲出来的声音呢非常柔软。
The second sound made by the Buddha is the sound that is soft and compliant, that comes from his mind of compassion and benevolence.
然后第三个呢，和适音呢，他讲的他都非常中道的，不会偏啊，怎么偏哪里啊，就非常中道。
The third kind is the sound of one of fitting sound, one of appropriateness, and that's because the Buddha always walks the middle path.
第四个呢，就是尊慧音，就是说，听者呢，会非常尊重，然后非常有智慧。
The fourth sound is one of respect and wisdom, so that whoever hears it brings forth the mind of respect and thereby gain wisdom.
好，第五个呢，不女音，这个不会像女孩子这些声音，为什么呢？因为他们天魔外道呢，他们都要来归服、来归顺的。
The fifth one is the sound of not being girlish, such that the heavenly demons are impressed and come and be subdued.
好，第六个呢，不误音，因为呢，他所讲出来法都是正见呢，无邪的，没有像偏邪的这样子。
The sixth one is the sound of no mistake, because the Buddha's view is proper and is completely devoid of deviance.
好，第七个呢，声眼音，因为他讲的这个声音呢，可以透贯十方，而且呢，可以证很深的这个道理。
Seventh, the sound that is deep and far-reaching, so that his sound completely penetrates the 10 directions, and it's a sound that touches upon the deepest of principles.
好，第八个，最后一个不绝音，绝就是等于绝尽啦，绝就是绝掉，绝了，没有了。他的讲的这个声音呢，这个无尽，讲的音声是无尽，然后呢，义理当然也就无尽。
The last one, the eighth, is the sound that is inexhaustible, such that this sound shall never end, and the meaning within that sound is completely boundless and limitless.
也好，这个佛说法八音，那民间的这个八音呢，这个其实这个都从古代的时候就开始就有了。它最重要呢，它是来像做传统的这个聚会啦，来祭祀啦，表示吉祥啦，这些的事情在流传着这样子。那这个当然有，我们讲过，它有8种。
So the Buddha has 8 sounds in the world. In China, of course, the 8 kinds of sound from musical instrument. These are used during commemorations, during festivals, and these sounds are all sounds of auspiciousness. So traditionally, they are passed from generation to generation.
所以呢，我们也 每个礼拜我们都会选一些中华民族的这个每一个族的发音，我们也有过几个族的。那今天我们要来讲贵州苗族贵州苗族的发音。
So continuing our lately playing for everyone the sound of music from China. This time we're going to play the 8 songs from the people of Miao in the province of Guizhou.
好，我们可以听听他们的这个作唱，他们这个发音作唱，这个贵州的这个布依族，布依族，布啊，就是我们的这个穿的布啊，布依族，它这个名字，布依族的发音作唱。好，我们来。
Sound of Guizhou, the Miao people, particularly from the lineage of Buyi.
布依族、苗族的吧。
蛇皮做的，然后这边这个叫刺骨，上面有很多像刺一样的叫刺骨。
在YouTube 上，大家有兴趣，大家可以去查看听。
You can get this from YouTube.
好，是真的很不错的，他们都非常快乐，所以呢，这种算布依族的，这个像这个苗族呢，苗族在美国啊，在美国里面呢有30多万了，我知道，在明尼苏达有很多的，因为过年过节的时候，他们都是非常活络，大家都非常算庆祝啊这样子的，在明尼苏达或者是艾奥瓦或者是那个总共都有30几万的，因为他的这个民族性呢非常勤劳，像明尼苏达很冷的地方呢，他们都在那里生活， 他们不怕，因为我知道美国政府呢有一次把5万的这个苗族人呢就送去明尼苏达这个北方很冷的地方，他们在那里耕种，在那里生活，这个他们非常算苗族的一个特色。好，
是不是梦？Yeah, Hmong. Yeah, there are 310,000 Hmong people, which Chinese call Miao, in America. 50,000 of them were refugees sent to Minnesota, and so even it's very cold, these are very hardworking people, and they're agricultural people, and they're able to make a living tilling the land.
好，我们今天讲法就到这里，后面我们要来做功德回向。我们有一些人呢，他们想说把功德回向给一些人，我想
So now we finish the lecture by returning the merit, and there a request for particular people to be have this merit returned and directed towards them.
好，我们每天中午我们也都有回向，像我们回向给那个法界大学的这个recitation，他开刀。一切顺利我们非常高兴。OK， 然后呢，像还有一个就是那个于志强，还有林伯伯、林少勤，还有 Texas 的他加护病房一个已经往生了，彭秋叶，还有彭叶秋。还有一位在加护病房陈青云，希望他能够早日康复，来学习佛法。
So we return these merits per request. One person is in ICU recovering. We wish her speedy recovery, and others, including a person in city of 10,000 Buddhas.
还有像今天8月21号，发生这个徐丽丽，她是一位牙科医生，她往生。还有另外 Mr. Gong Patrick Bong，他是一个吴伯司机，52岁，我想他也往生，希望他能够去阿弥陀佛那里去修行。还有Kim Mai 阿姨呢，她96岁了，在前几天在越南往生，然后96岁了。好，我们希望她也去阿弥陀佛，我们祝福她去那里去修行，将来成佛。好，我们今天我们大家一起来合掌，我们来念功德回向文。好，我们当然我们也要愿所有法界众生都能够离苦得乐，往生者去阿弥陀佛那里去修行。
愿生西方净土中，九品莲花为父母，法盖见佛无生，不退菩萨为伴侣，十方三世一切佛，一切菩萨摩萨
地，礼佛3拜。
Bow to the Buddha in place.
OK， 好。顶礼老和尚。OK， 阿弥陀佛。好，我们的讲法到这里。下礼拜一样的，礼拜四，下礼拜四，我们一样的，大家一起来研究《佛说无量寿经》。然后呢，特别要announce这个礼拜六我们没有法会，这个礼拜六没有念佛没有法会，因为法师要出差。明天礼拜五我们中午有念佛，就这样子。然后所有的早晚课我们都没有在 internet 了。好。就这样子，阿弥陀佛。
阿弥陀佛。
祝大家平安吉祥快乐。